Hey guys, I'm Alexis.
And I'm Kennedy.
And this is Divine Daughters. Welcome back, everyone. This is going to be part two.
Part two of our mini series.
Yes.
So excited.
The Christians. So this week we're going to give kind of a quick breakdown of pride. I feel like a lot of people, we talk about pride.
Yeah.
We know like the world's view on pride, but I think we kind of wanted to get more of the heart between God's view on pride and the world's and see how easy it can be twisted, but then also how easy it should be for Christians to like be able to see this.
Yeah.
So because like when I say pride, Candy, what's the first thing that comes to mind? Like
Well, there's like two things that come to mind. It's like
Okay.
the Christian view and then like Pride Month for
Yeah.
So
I feel and as Christians it's like it's immediately almost an awkward feeling of
yeah.
like I know God hates pride, but then we have a whole month dedicated towards like Pride Month, and it's viewed as this like good, like we need
Like
to be
celebration type of thing. Yeah.
But it's awkward because like how do we go about that as Christians and being able to stand firm in like what God says it is, and how to maybe address it to unbelievers who are kind of like, what do you mean there's another view, because we know this because we've grown up in it.
Yeah.
But some people don't know. So I guess like for me, I'm a little definition girl. I like to like look at it. And I think it was the reason why I put definitions was because it really just shows the difference in the wording. Because if you think about Satan, like he is able to twist words and it sounds good. So for the worldly definition of pride, I'll just read the first one. It says a deep feeling of pleasure or satisfaction derived from one's own achievements, the achievements of those with whom one is closely associated, or from qualities or possessions that are widely admired. So this is kind of like, oh, so like I'm supposed to take pride in this, like pleasure and satisfaction.
Yeah.
Okay. And if we look at the biblical meaning, it's ultimately pride is extreme love and focus on oneself. This pride that stems from self-righteousness or conceit is sin. However, God hates it because it is a hindrance to seeking him. So the verse that I was kind of reading in last night, I'm still in my Proverbs kind of era. And it's saying, this is Proverbs 16:18. And it says, pride goes before destruction and a haughty spirit before a fall. So God, it looks right here that he hates it. It's not that he doesn't like it or, oh guys, like we don't want to see this. Like maybe
don't do that.
Maybe don't do that. It's like, no, he hates it, And I mean, anytime you see like the worldly definition, it says pleasure or satisfaction. It's like God never uses those words as like a gift. Yeah, like pleasure, satisfaction. It's normally temporary, fleeting. Those are the words he associates with those two, like when describing.
Yeah, like very worldly.
Yeah. And I think that's the problem because a lot of times like we're humans.
Yeah.
Like sometimes I'm like, I want to take pride in this, or I want to like feel a sense of honor or respect towards these things. So there's like 3 different types of pride as well.
Yeah.
Because pride in all areas isn't always bad, because you can be able to have honor and respect. Like there's the first pride is that form. It's like dignity. So it's a sense of honor, respect. This is more towards God. Then we have superiority, which is like you're considered above someone else. So you can take pride in like there's like a level of like achievement that it takes to be above someone. But again, it can turn bad if you use that like against someone. And then there's arrogance. So this is an exaggeration of oneself. And so that you can kind of equate to like the devil, because how did he get out of heaven?
Yeah, he had a lot of pride.
Yeah,
got kicked out.
He was too big for his britches, and he thought he could be God. He tried to play God, and it didn't work out too well. So why did we do that? Looking at this, in a sense, I have a couple questions. Because what are some forms of pride that you see commonly in yourself or in other Christians?
I don't know.
I don't know.
I feel like people that think like they're better than the other people, especially like in Christian, it's like, oh, I went to church, you didn't go to church. It's like they could be very prideful.
Like, what if like looking at it from like an outside view, like if you were a non-believer, what's something that you think a lot of non-believers, they get turned off by Christianity?
I think I don't know, it's like the lukewarmness of the pride. Like, where it's kind of like they make the non-believers feel bad because they're not checking all the boxes.
Yeah. What's the word for that? I know what you're saying.
There's like a word for I don't know what it is,
it's
but
not like double standard. It's like the word that everyone uses to describe Christians, and it's like
hypocrite.
Hypocrites, yes. And I think a lot of that goes towards pride because we're exaggerating how really good we are, because the Bible says, like,
I think
he knows our hearts, and
that's
it's
really
wicked.
what turns non-believers off.
Yeah, because no one likes
they
that.
see you, and especially the ones that are like, they see you at church and then they see you like downtown or something, and they're like, okay, you told me I can't do this, this, and this, but you're over here doing this, this, and this.
Yeah.
And then they think it's like, oh, they're all like this, they're all liars, they're all hypocrites.
And I think that's the problem for, I would say, adults, like older adults, like they still have that issue, but it's more younger adults.
Yeah.
Because I don't think, well, personally, like, it's not a problem where I was like, I'm going to do this, like, deliberately, and I'm just going to do what I want. It was more of, like, finding my identity.
Yeah.
And really seeing how much Christ did I want to have and how much world could I get away with. And I feel like a lot of Christians, they're not trying to be bad.
No.
They just don't know who they are because they haven't really gotten into their word yet. And so they don't know what God's telling them that they are.
Yeah.
And then, why do you think God hates pride so much?
I think because when you have a lot of pride, you think you are a God. Or you think you're better than God. And God's like, no, you're not.
Yeah.
You're not. So,
I mean, look at the world. Like, everyone is like self-care and like, I need to elevate myself. And I mean,
it's all about you. I think that's also, it's like pride can be all about you and you take the focus off of God.
Yeah.
Like, God gave you the confidence. Don't overuse it.
Yeah. And as Christians, it can be so easy because it's the small things. If you really think about it, it's never just like, man, you just switched one day to the next. It's slowly like, oh, like the devil can slowly elevate you.
Yeah.
Just like as God can elevate you, the enemy's there to attack and destroy. So, I mean, sometimes that's not always what the cookie cutter way. Like, oh, I'm going to send this illness. I'll do this. For me personally, I'm like, that's feeding my pride. That's feeding my ego. I don't need to be worshiping Satan. I just need to be not worshiping God. And so if he can put in lies and say that I'm an idol and that I'm amazing and that Alexis Daniels is great, like I'm at that point where like I'm not listening to God. I'm not respecting and honoring him because I've put myself in that place, And so what's the opposite of like pride? Like what's something that we really need to be seeking the Lord in? Starts with an H.
Starts with an H. I don't even know then.
Humility.
Oh, I was gonna guess
that. And like, how would you describe it? Like humility, like for Christians that are like desiring to be humble and to like seek God in that, like, because I feel in your life you really don't elevate yourself in a way that's like
prideful.
Yeah. So how do you do that, Kennedy? How do you find?
It's hard.
It's hard being so humble.
Hard.
I'm the humblest person.
No, it's just I used to say all the time, like, I love my personality. I really do. Like, I love my personality. I've been saying that since I was like in 6th grade. I was like, I'm so funny. I love my personality. But like recently, I've been saying it's like I love the personality God gave me because it's not my personality. Like, it's my parents and me, and they have a very similar personality.
Yeah.
But like God gave me that personality. He could have made me like the opposite of my parents.
Yeah.
So.
And I feel like that's true because a lot of people, like, you'll find, like, that's just who I am. Like, that's just, like, how God made me. But it's, like, the closer that we get to God, have you found yourself, like, changing, like, your personality in certain areas?
Bit. Yeah, I'm not, like, I'm very sarcastic and, like, straight to the point. What? But I feel like I'm not doing it, like, in a mean type of way. Like, because I never meant to be mean, but sometimes it would come off a little bit as mean. And now it comes off more as like, I know you're joking.
Yeah.
And not like, I'm going to go home and cry because you said that type of thing.
I feel like I have to go behind you. She's just joking.
Yeah.
She's just
there
joking.
is times she was like, I would like be meeting people and she would full on be like, she's just kidding. Yeah. Like she really is. And
she's so sweet. She's so
like,
sweet.
she's actually very nice. And I'm like.
It's like you are. It's just like the first like encounter with
someone. It's like, I forget. It's like when you first meet somebody. That's like how they think you are, and not everybody gets my personality either. So it's like I say one thing to you and I say one thing to our friends, but I meet someone new and I say the same thing, they look at me like, did you really just say that? That was kind of rude.
Or it's like how you treat like your friends.
Like not everybody's gonna like have the same sense of humor also.
Yeah.
Like not everyone's gonna get it.
Which is fine.
But yeah, it's fine, but
it's like watching out for that because I'll be like, oh Lord, like let me not be prideful because sometimes like me joking, it's like elevating myself in a way like I used to. Like I can realize I'd be like, oh yeah, like someone would compliment me and I used to not be able to take compliments that well just because I didn't grow up with like compliments. It was more of like, you're just expected to do that, like, which I understand. But I was like, oh yeah, like, oh, you're so good at that. I'm like, yeah, not that hard, and just like would joke around, and my friends would be like, oh, shut up. But like new people would be like, oh wow, she's like really prideful.
Yeah,
Like
like she
really
thinks she's all that.
Yeah. And I'm like, if I was a new person, I had to really get into that reality of like, man, I am kind of prepping myself up in not a tasteful way. Like
Yeah.
my friends know I'm joking, so it's not that big of a deal. But for like new people, it's kind of like
she really thinks she's all that.
yeah, I'll just go play with someone
And I
else.
can't stand people like
Yeah.
that.
And there's me.
It's like you meet them, they're all about like their ego and like I did this and this, and I'm like, okay.
And sometimes
Cool.
joking and like joking in that way, how much of it is joking and how much are you starting to really like feed into your mind and your heart where it's
Yeah.
like you're saying it in a joking way, but you kind of mean it, don't you?
The other thing is like sometimes it starts out as a joke and then you say it so much or you're getting so much praise, then you're like, actually I am kind of good.
Yeah.
You know what? You're right. Like you really are right. Like it
Mhm.
starts out as a joke and then it's like you keep hearing it,
And
especially
then-
if you're in a sport.
Oh, sports, like you would know, like it's like, and that becomes your identity,
Mhm.
is what you find that you're good in, like
Oh, yeah.
worldly wise. So again, that takes it away from God. You're boosting up your pride, and I find that's not attractive to Christians, nor to
Non-Christians,
non-Christians. Yeah, like no one wants a person that's like that. And so again, like there's some scriptures where it's saying like God hates pride,
Mm-hmm.
and it's and there was a good part. I was on this website, and like sometimes I'm like, oh, that's like a word right there. One of it was like, God is not out to hurt your pride, he's there to kill it.
Oh, I like that.
Like he's not like there just to be like, oh, he's there to humble you and to smack you down. He will.
Yeah.
But his whole point isn't to make you feel worthless and nothing. His whole point is to strip everything that is negative that the world tells you so that you can have a clean heart. So
Yeah.
that you can be like
Be
right
more
mind.
like him.
Yeah, and then that's more attractive to everyone because
Mhm.
at that point it's not the Kennedy show, it's not
Yeah.
the Alexis show. It's like, oh wow, like there's something different about you. It's not like, oh, you're just a different girl. Like
Yeah.
you're just so different. You're not like the other
I'm
girls.
not like the other girls.
Like the pick me thing. It's like there's something different. Like you're very joyful.
Mhm.
You seem happy. You're quick to help others. It's hard to not like people that are like
Yeah.
that. Unless you're so far into the dark. But at that point, you're like God like says in the Word, like He's calling out to you.
Yeah.
Like you're always going to be attracted to God because He's your creator. He loves you so much. So as Christians, we really need to get out and put on that instead. So it's like to fear the Lord is to hate evil. This is Proverbs 8:13. I hate pride and arrogance. This is God speaking. Evil behavior and perverse speech. And then again, Proverbs 11:2. When pride comes, then comes disgrace, but with humility comes wisdom. Proverbs 16:15. The Lord detests all the proud of heart. Be sure of this, they will not go unpunished. And then the last one, Proverbs 16:18. Pride goes before destruction and a haughty spirit before the fall. These are all negative in the sense of God hates this. It brings disgrace. He detests this. You will not go unpunished.
Yeah.
Like it goes to destruction, falling. I don't want to do any of those things. There's like a lot of things where it's like, man, like it's like this is something that can be so simple to Christians,
Mhm.
but I think it's something that we need to have a daily reminder of that
Yeah.
the Lord doesn't just not like it. He hates it.
Yeah.
And
And
it's
that's
like-
like a whole nother level.
And we need to love the things that God loves and hates the things that He hates. So I think this was just a good reminder of how God views pride and how that we need to show ourselves to non-believers and to our fellow Christians. We want to show love,
Yeah.
not pride. But yeah, so that kind of concludes this little mini episode. We will see y'all next week.
Yeah.
Okay, bye.
Bye.